Don't forget to subscribe for more updates. McCain, our hero legacy demolished overnight after alarming scandals are exposed. This will kill him. For years, John McCain has used his Vietnam POW story and veteran status to rise to political prominence, for decades portraying himself as a Vietnam War hero. His prestige as an American war hero afforded him the opportunity to become a United States Senator, where this facade has allowed him to seamlessly bury scandals that would ruin any normal person's career. But unfortunately for McCain, 12 nasty skeletons from his past are now emerging from the closet, sure to solidify his position as the crookedest politician in American history, just in time before he dies, and nauseating tributes are made to his heroic life as a public servant. 1. John McCain killed 134 of his fellow sailors aboard the USS Forrestal Aircraft Carrier in 1967. John McCain graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1958, where he became commissioned as second lieutenant naval aviator. His Navy career was disastrous from beginning, where he crashed 2 Navy jets and was involved with other nearly fatal mishaps shortly after graduation. But because his father and grandfather were both 4-star admirals, McCain got preferential treatment, and was able to continue to serve, despite being a horrible pilot. But tragically, McCain's cocky actions as a young pilot while aboard the USS Forrestal Aircraft Carrier on July 31, 1967 would go on to kill 134 sailors, in a horrifying incident where his involvement was scrubbed from the Navy official records. According to eyewitnesses that day, whose accounts were predictably buried by the Navy due to John McCain's familial ties to 2 4-star admirals, McCain decided to be a show-off by doing a wet start of his jet. This reckless maneuver makes fuel build up in the engine before the plane is started. The result is a flame erupting from the tail of the plane, that accompanied by a startling amount of noise. After McCain started his engine in this manner, the electrical surge of this maneuver subsequently caused the accidental launching of a powerful Zuni rocket across the carrier deck, that hit 2 other parked planes that were packing 1,000-pound highly explosive bombs. The fire then caused a chain reaction of bombs to detonate, causing explosions that went several decks below. The ensuing explosions nearly sank the 82,000-ton U.S. aircraft carrier, with the fire fatally consuming 134 sailors aboard the Forrestal. 2. John McCain is funded by Muslim terrorists. McCain was exposed earlier this year of being the recipient of millions of dirty Saudi and Iranian money. This money was dumped into his McCain Institute. Via the Daily Caller, the McCain Institute, created in 2012 with an $8.7 million donation of funds remaining from McCain's unsuccessful 2008 presidential campaign, refused Monday to disclose the amounts it received from its biggest donors, who gave $100,000 or more. The Royal Embassy of Saudi Arabia, for instance, is identified as giving $100,000 or more on the Institute website. In reality, the Saudis gave $1 million. 3. John McCain is a George Soros puppet and is directly funded by the evil billionaire globalists. An investigation by the Daily Caller revealed that McCain is the large recipient of large donations by evil billionaire George Soros, who is one of the most dangerous anti-American liberals on the face of the planet. McCain Legacy Foundation is stuffed with Soros cash, which explains McCain's incessant efforts to remove Trump from office in recent months, and also McCain's mission to get Muslim terrorists into power. Both key goals that Soros has had for quite some time. It was also recently discovered that McCain has been taking massive amounts of money from Iranian terrorists as well. 4. McCain led massive government cover-up of the Vietnam POWs he was in captivity with that President Nixon left behind. John McCain was sent on a bombing mission over Hanoi in October of 1967 when he was shot down and captured by the North Vietnamese, where he go on to be a prisoner of war until 1973. What most people don't know is the massive government scandal that McCain helped hide, as he go on for decades to tirelessly work to bury stunning information about American prisoners over in Vietnam who, unlike him, didn't return home. Using his position as a senator, McCain would be behind the scenes quietly pushing and sponsoring federal laws that would keep the most damning information about our POWs buried through classified documents. The secrets that John McCain has sought to hide about Vietnam POWs are massive. Despite sworn testimony by 2 defense secretaries of the men left behind in Vietnam, McCain continued to push the massive lie that there were no survivors, much to the horror of POW families who were frantic to know the truth about what happened to their loved ones. Enormous amounts of government documents indicate that hundreds of prisoners held in Vietnam were not returned when President Nixon signed the peace treaty in January of 1973. Only 591 in Hanoi were released, among them, Navy combat pilot John S. McCain. After the war, President Nixon promised the Vietnamese a $3.25 billion in post-war reconstruction aid without any political conditions. But there was a catch to this promise, where Nixon had included that Congress would have to approve these funds. Approval that never happened. Furious that the American government had double-crossed them, Hanoi decided to keep the remaining hundreds of American prisoners, because their ransom money post-war provisions never came. CIA whistleblowers said that the government wanted to keep these missing men a secret, because as more years passed, it became more and more difficult for the government to admit that it knew about the prisoners that were left behind. Years later, CIA officials admitted that their intel indicated that the remaining POWs were eventually executed by the Vietnamese, as they were no longer useful bargaining chips. 5. After being released as a POW, McCain discovered his wife had been disfigured in a car accident and dumped her for a younger, prettier woman. As John McCain was held in captivity, his wife Carol was involved in a terrible car crash that left her disfigured and wheelchair-bound, where she put on a considerable amount of weight. But John McCain would soon discard his first wife like a piece of trash, disgusted with how she now looked. The Daily Mail reported when McCain returned to America in 1973 to a fanfare of publicity and a handshake from Richard Nixon, he discovered his wife had been disfigured in a terrible car crash 3 years earlier. Her car had skidded on icy roads into a telegraph pole on Christmas Eve, 1969. Her pelvis and one arm were shattered by the impact and she suffered massive internal injuries. Today, she stands at just 5 feet 4 inches and still walks awkwardly, with a pronounced limp. Her body is held together by screws and metal plates and, at 70, her face is worn by wrinkles that speak of decades of silent suffering. Carol was no longer the famous beauty and swimsuit model that McCain had married in 1965, and he callously kicked her to the curb for a younger wife. McCain divorced Carol and married Cindy just 1 month later. Cindy was not only beautiful and 18 years his junior, but also the heiress to an Arizona brewing fortune. The couple met when John McCain was still married to ex-wife Carol. John McCain married Cindy 5 weeks after his divorce from Carol, who happened to be close friends with the Reagans. Heavy.com reported. 6. McCain committed a felony and worked with foreign government spies to overthrow Trump. McCain was behind the fake Russian dossier that BuzzFeed and CNN infamously circulated after the election. The fake dossier was compiled and put together by former British spy Christopher Steele and his London firm, who later sold it to Trump political opponents. According to court documents in the British lawsuit, lawyers for Steele revealed that McCain was one of the only people in Washington, D.C. who had copies of the full document before it was circulated among liberal journalists and then published by BuzzFeed. McCain will now be forced to leave D.C. in order to testify under oath about what he knew, and why he decided to spread fake news about Trump, as he was obsessive in his pursuits to get his grubby hands on the 35-page dossier. 7. McCain met with ISIS terrorists during the Obama administration and funneled money to them. During the Obama administration, McCain secretly met with Muslim terrorists in Syria, where he then helped get ISIS into power after building up the Free Syrian Army. McCain was directly linked to the London Bridge attack, after it was discovered that terrorist Rashid Redouane came directly from the McCain Free Syrian Army, who would and have even had the resources necessary to carry out the terror plot had it not been for McCain's support and financial backing. 8. McCain is a neo-Nazi supporter and is funded by radical Nazi groups. John McCain is a huge supporter of the neo-Nazi party known as the Svoboda Neo-Nazi Party, a terror group that carried out one of the bloodiest coups in Ukraine back in 2013 that McCain helped assist. The Svoboda Party also joined Hitler forces in the 1940s, and single-handedly helped Hitler slaughter 200,000 Jews. Over the years, the Svoboda Party has donated massive amounts of cash to McCain Institute over the years. Back in 2013, McCain flew to Ukraine and helped these terrorists carry out a coup on their government, where the radical group still donates to McCain Institute as a way of saying thanks. The Business Insider were the ones to discover McCain ties to these neo-Nazis, exposing how the senator was at the Svoboda coup in Ukraine several years ago and was a huge help in overthrowing the Ukrainian president in one of the deadliest coups in history. UK Channel 4 News revealed how McCain was repeatedly photographed with the Lutyanibok, the leader of the right-wing nationalist party Svoboda. The Business Insider further reported 9. McCain tried to get an entire class of newly commissioned officers to fight Trump. At the end of October, McCain gave the commencement speech for the U.S. Naval Academy where he gave the class of newly commissioned officers a startling anti-American order to defy President Trump. McCain began his speech by predictably taking a swipe at Trump and his entire administration. But later in the speech is when McCain proved to the world just how many brain cells he apparently lost with his recent brain cancer diagnosis, where he made the asinine demand that these newly commissioned officers should not put America first, and should try to blend with other countries such as Europe. McCain said that as a statesman, that he had concluded that the American example and American leadership are indispensable to securing a peaceful and prosperous future, and that there could be no more isolationism, no more tired resignation, no more America first. Putting America first is the very reason that young men and women decide to sign up for the military in the first place. But apparently the message of patriotism and love for country are attributives that John McCain has lost along the way, as he stepped on literally everyone in his path over the years to ensure that his own selfish personal political agendas were fulfilled. 10. McCain cheated on his wife of 35 years with his hot young lobbyist. John McCain joined the long list of sexual perverts being exposed in recent weeks after his affair with his young lobbyist Vicky Eisman re-emerged. A female lobbyist had been turning up with him at fundraisers, visiting his offices and accompanying him on a client corporate jet. Convinced the relationship had become romantic, some of his top advisors intervened to protect the candidate from himself, instructing staff members to block the woman access, privately warning her away and repeatedly confronting him. Several people involved in the campaign said on the condition of anonymity. 11. John McCain funded the London Bridge attack bomber. During the Obama administration, McCain secretly met with Muslim terrorists in Syria where he then helped get ISIS into power after building up the Free Syrian Army. Rashid Redouane came directly from the McCain Free Syrian Army, who would have even had the resources necessary to carry out the terror plot had it not been for McCain's support and financial backing. WorldNet Daily reports that one of the Muslims involved in the London Bridge attack used to work with the Free Syrian Army. In case you didn't hear about it, the Free Syrian Army is a militia that has been built up by Sen. John McCain RAZ. McCain is responsible for arming and supporting these people and therefore gave the terrorist Rashid Redouane a chance to act. 12. McCain busted for being on Hillary payroll to take Trump out. Huma Abedin is a Muslim Brotherhood agent who has managed to gain access to our White House through her work as Hillary Clinton's longtime aide. After Hillary humiliating loss to Trump for the presidency, WikiLeaks exposed how the Hillary and Huma have been working in the shadows, involving some very powerful Republicans in an active coup to get Trump removed as president. In the series of emails discovered on Huma Abedin computer, only identified document 1,078,645, it exposed how these 6 Republican traitors, to include John McCain, were on Hillary Clinton payroll. In the first email, it goes into detail about how funds were being funneled directly from Hillary campaign to lie in the pockets of the super PACs of Jeb Bush, Carly Fiorina, and John Kasich in order to buy their alliance against Trump. Excerpt from one of the emails of document 1,078,645. JB, CF, and JK PACs will be noticeably silent for the rest of the campaign. Each will receive a significant allowance from advertising budget. HRC is in the loop and has talked to all 3 personally, eyes only, but a DOES and there. Other emails reveal how Hillary bought off other key members of the Republican Party by funneling funds from her Clinton Foundation directly to their bank accounts of 3 other traitors, including Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, Lindsey Graham, and known traitor John McCain. As you can see, this man is hardly a hero. Before he kicks the bucket and nauseating tributes are made about his heroic military career and life as a public servant, be sure to share this story and help expose the real John McCain, who deserves to go down in history as the biggest traitor and slimiest politician that this country has ever seen.